While the new Duke and Duchess of Sussex might have had the most recent royal wedding, there is a long and fascinating history of such events. It's hard not to compare these over-the-top royal celebrations, so that's exactly what we're going to do. We'll let you know who stuck to tradition and who thought outside of the box. But first, make sure that you're subscribed for more videos from the taco. Let's get started. Tradition. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle announced their engagement, people began speculating about which traditions they would throw out the window. In fact, many were surprised that Meghan went along with the tradition of wearing a tiara on her wedding day. However, there were many less noticeable royal wedding traditions that this happy couple chose not to follow. Due to heart problems, Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, was unable to attend her ceremony. So instead of her father walking her down the aisle, she went down solo, accompanied only by her bridesmaids and page boys. When she got about halfway down, she was greeted by her new father-in-law, Prince Charles, who escorted her the rest of the way. Traditionally, the father of the bride would escort her down the aisle, but since that couldn't happen, Meghan definitely made the most of it. The songs and readings for royal weddings are generally religious-based, and Meghan and Harry went way outside of the box for this one. Their service, led by Most Reverend Michael Curry, included quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., St. Paul, and other notable minds. Overall, it was a less traditional service than most, but it really reflected the couple who were getting married. If just one aspect of their wedding becomes a new tradition, we hope it's this one. Train. Meghan Markle's wedding dress was truly polarizing. Some people slammed it for being far too simple for such an extravagant event. Others loved the simplicity and called it a sleek and modern look. Of course, it drew many comparisons to the gorgeous lace dress worn by Kate Middleton at her wedding. But we couldn't help but compare it to the dress worn by Prince Harry's mother, the late Princess Diana. When Diana married Prince Charles, she insisted on having a 25-foot-long train on her dress. It was so long and cumbersome that she could barely fit it in the royal carriage when she had to travel. Although it was stunning, it did get a little bit crushed and wrinkled by the time the ceremony started. Maybe that's why her daughter-in-law settled on only having 15 feet of fabric trailing behind her on her wedding day. Meghan Markle's exquisite veil was a showstopper for sure, and reminded us fondly of her mother-in-law's own lengthy wedding day outfit. It seemed like a lovely way to pay tribute to Diana, without ending up with a ton of crushed silk taffeta. Although it would have been quite a sight if she tried to emulate the massive sleeves of Diana's gown instead. The white dress. Most people know that many brides traditionally wear white on their wedding day, but that wasn't always the case. Wedding dresses have always been considered a way to show off a bit, but the idea that they should be only worn once is pretty new. White dresses aren't practical for most people, so wedding dresses used to come in a variety of colors. The very first royal to wear a white wedding dress was Mary, Queen of Scots. She wore a white gown to her wedding to Francis Dauphin of France in 1559, but because the event obviously wasn't photographed or televised, it didn't spark a new trend until much later. Queen Victoria is the one who ended up being credited with the idea when she wore a white dress to her wedding to Prince Albert in 1840. At the time, it was an extremely shocking move. The most popular color for new brides was red, and here was the Queen showing up in a gown of white lace. She also opted out of the traditional tiara and wore a simple orange blossom wreath instead. Although she wasn't the first to do so, apparently Queen Victoria wore it best, because she started the white dress trend that we know today. Budget. When it comes to planning your wedding, we all know that the least fun and most stressful part is setting your budget. You probably don't think that the wealthy royal family has to worry about that, but it's something that they are indeed conscious of. In fact, when Queen Victoria wore her now infamous white dress, she did so using only British-made material to support local commerce. She even repurposed the delicate lace over and over again, making it into new dresses for various occasions. When Queen Elizabeth II was married in 1947, she had to contend with a war and ration supplies. She had to pay for her dress using ration coupons, although the government did slip her a few extra. Some citizens also tried to donate their clothing coupons to the Queen, but that was against the law and they were ultimately returned. Today's royal brides don't have to scrimp to quite the extent, but they do keep the budget and propriety in mind. Kate Middleton used British materials and labor whenever possible when putting together her wedding dress. In fact, many people worried about the message that it would send if she had it designed by someone from another country. Bouquet. This is one wedding tradition that Meghan Markle didn't dare skip. But as far as traditions go, this one is pretty benign and actually has a really sweet origin. Picking out your bridal bouquet can be a challenge, but every new royal uses a sprig of myrtle. This flower is imbued with meaning and represents love, marriage, and fertility. This makes it a great choice for a wedding bouquet, but the tradition is even more in depth. All brides use a sprig from a certain shrub from the royal garden. This plant is almost 200 years old and was a gift to Queen Victoria from her grandmother-in-law. She used flowers from it for her own bouquet in 1840, and so she has every royal bride since then. And yes, that includes Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle. Besides the myrtle, Kate used hyacinths, lily of the valley, and sweet william. Meghan used sweet pea, forget-me-nots, lily of the valley, astilbe, jasmine, and astrantia. After the wedding, royal brides leave their carefully crafted bouquets behind at the Westminster Abbey tomb. This tradition was started by the first Queen Elizabeth, who laid hers there in 1923 in memory of her brother who lost his life during World War I. Cake. If you're used to groaning when you see your relatives bring a fruit cake to Christmas, this royal wedding tradition may seem strange. But having a fruit cake is a beloved tradition for the royal family, and we guarantee it's way better than the stuff you're used to. A long time ago, things like alcohol, spices, and fruit were all really rare and valuable. So a cake that contained all those things was considered to be a delicious signifier of wealth. Plus, back then there were no refrigerators, and the rum or brandy helped keep the cake fresh and moist longer. Considering the fact that most royal wedding cakes are absolutely enormous and intricate, a ton of time is spent decorating. Not only is this cake a time-honored classic, but it's a great choice considering that it has to sit out so long when it's being decorated. When Princess Diana married Prince Charles in 1981, they had a 5-foot-tall fruit cake with cream cheese frosting. When William and Kate married, their fruit cake had 8 tiers with white icing. However, Meghan and Harry decided to go off script for this one and had a lemon elderflower cake instead. Instead of a towering mountain of cake, theirs was presented in several freestanding tiers. Tribute. Because of her extensive charity work and relationship with the public, Princess Diana was affectionately known as the People's Princess. When she tragically passed away, she left a nation in mourning, and her sons William and Harry motherless. Naturally, it was important for them to pay tribute to their mother who couldn't be with them on their wedding days. Meghan Markle's bridal bouquet included forget-me-nots to let everyone know that Diana was on her mind that day. There were also some of Diana's beloved flowers handpicked by Harry from their private garden. One of the songs performed during her wedding ceremony was the hymn Guide Me, O Thy Great Redeemer. This same hymn was performed at Diana's funeral when Harry was only 12 years old. During the song, Harry understandably got a little bit choked up due to the emotional significance. When Kate Middleton married Prince William, they chose I Was Glad for their processional song, which is the same song that Charles and Diana used at their wedding. Kate Middleton takes many of her fashion cues from Diana, and the tiara she wore for her wedding day was worn by Diana at previous events. Portraits. They say that a good photographer is one thing that you shouldn't skimp on when planning a wedding. In the royal family, having official wedding portraits is an important tradition and one that even Meghan and Harry didn't skip. When Charles and Diana were married, it seemed as if they were trying to cram as many people as possible into their photos. It was definitely standing room only for these portraits. Kate and William decided to have photos taken in the throne room at Buckingham Palace. Although a bit less crowded, it's every bit as formal as the photo of Diana and Charles. Kate Middleton also enjoys photography herself, so she definitely had a lot of ideas about how she wanted these photos to look. However, Meghan and Harry's laid-back vibe definitely carries over to their portraits. Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip even get to sit down along with the kids and Kate Middleton, who gave birth shortly before this was taken. Their couple's photo is also very informal, and Meghan even removed her incredible veil for the occasion. And if you were wondering if it's hard to get a ton of kids to cooperate for pictures, the answer is yes. One staff member confessed that the kids are bribed with candy in order to convince them to sit still for the time. Guests. Of course, everyone wants to know what the bride is going to wear at her wedding. But when it comes to the royal wedding, we are also super excited to see what kind of outfits the guests put together. Kate Middleton wore a lovely yellow outfit that photographed a bit more white than we think she intended. It's also one that we've seen before since she wore it to Princess Charlotte's christening and the Queen's birthday party. It actually looks similar to the outfit that the Queen wore to her wedding a few years ago. For Meghan and Harry's wedding, the Queen switched it up and decided to wear lime green with purple accents. Prince Philip wore his Grenadier Guards uniform in 2011, and in 2018 he wore some traditional formal wear. He recently underwent hip surgery, so it's likely that this outfit was more comfortable for him. For both weddings, Camilla wore outfits by Anna Valentine, paired with an enormous statement hat. Hey, she found a look that works and she's sticking with it. To see his son William marry, Prince Charles wore his Royal Navy uniform. When it was time for Harry's wedding, he wore a more traditional suit decorated with a flower from his country estate Highgrove. Wedding party. For formal weddings in the United States, it isn't unusual for the affair to be adults only. But in the royal family, kids are a huge part of the bridal party, and it just wouldn't be a wedding without them. When selecting her bridal party, Meghan Markle chose not to have a maid of honor because she couldn't stand having to choose between her friends. However, you can definitely see that she's close with stylist Jessica Mulroney and entrepreneur Benita Litt, based on her choice of bridesmaids and page boys. Twins John and Brian and Ivy Mulroney are Jessica's children. And then there were Remy and Rylan, Benita's children and Meghan's goddaughters. In comparison, Kate's wedding party was much more a reflection of the royal family, with the exception of her sister Pippa. She had William's family members Lady Louise Windsor, Eliza Lopez, Margarita Armstrong-Jones, and Grace Van Cutsem, the daughter of William's friend Hugh Van Cutsem. Although Kate is known for being more traditional than Meghan, her bridal party was actually a little bit unusual. It's unusual for royal family members to have adults in their wedding party, but Kate broke this rule for her sister. Of course, when it comes to William and Harry, they have now both acted as best men to one another. What do you think about the royal wedding traditions? Which royal wedding has been your favorite so far? Tell us in the comments section and then click subscribe for more from the taco. Bye for now.